That's why there are serving sizes on the foods we buy, and we ignore them.
Yeah.
And then we are ballooning up, and we don't know why. No, but seriously,
No, you're right.
like this is ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
We make it sound like living this lifestyle is so difficult because, oh my goodness, you have to track, and oh my goodness, you have to do this. And I'm sorry. This is something that we should be doing regardless of what type of meal plan you are on. Sometimes we get caught between two ideas. We want to lose weight. We want to be healthier. We want to fit into nice clothes and whatever. But we want to eat junk food and chips, and we want to go to have drinks at the bar. And so these two ideas compete with each other. And we get caught up in believing that somehow we can have both. That's not possible. Like, the truth is, if you want to be healthy, and especially if you have weight to lose, if you have any metabolic issues, if you have any any negative health things that's coming from food, then you can't have both. We need to put our health first. Hello, Wellness Warriors. Welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. Pat Chat Edition. I'm Violet.
Yeah, I'm Pat. The idea was coming from one of our viewer that is good with low carb / keto 5 days a week, but then come like a little something, a little event or a weekend where it's just like bread in the morning, rice at lunch, and wine in the evening. So that person seems to consider that he would lose too much in going fully keto.
Lose too much what?
Lose too much of the things that they already have. For example, like I said, the bread, the rice, or maybe like there's still, I have a feeling that they're like probably that person, there's still some addiction talking there. I feel like it's the same idea as a smoker that still smokes cigarette with like a lung cancer or something like that.
You said the person feels they're going to miss out? Or sorry, they're going to miss out. And the question for me is, miss out on what? So there's and you kind of went two different ways, because you said like well, miss out on the food. Well, I mean, obviously then that would be the addiction talking. But miss out on life, which is the other thing you could possibly miss out on. So if my health is being affected by the things that I'm eating, and I don't allow myself to see that, if I don't allow myself to really look directly at this, that eating rice and bread and chips and cookies and all this stuff is hurting my health, then I'm going to think that I'm missing out when I'm not eating it. And part of the reason is because I haven't improved my health yet. How do I know what I'm truly missing out on if I haven't given myself to try something else? Right? So I'm doing this thing. I've never tried this thing. So how do I know?
Yeah, but like just to quote that person in the comment, doing keto was feeling like putting like their life on hold. Really, it was like mentioned like that in the like so whether it's a birthday party, whether it's a work dinner or work lunch, for example, instead of working their situation around that event, like for them it was putting it on hold.
Wanting to have both things, wanting to have everything. If I want to have everything, I will end up with nothing, right? On one hand, we're saying that if I live a healthy ketogenic lifestyle all the time, my life is on hold. The question I have is, how? Am I not going to work? Am I not seeing friends? Doing my hobbies? Am I not? So you're saying your life is on hold. No, the foods that you were eating that were damaging your health are no longer there. So now what you're really saying is that eating those things is my entire life. And that's where I'm going to say, is that really what you want? That your entire life is about eating foods, fun foods?
Yeah.
I've heard, for example, people who are trying to get out of debt say that. Oh my goodness, I'm working, and my life is on hold, because really their life is on hold. They're not seeing friends. They're not, all they're doing is going to work. They have 4 jobs and all they do is work and sleep and work and sleep and work and sleep because they're trying to get out of debt. Yes, that person's life is on hold. But if you're still able to do all your other things and the only thing you're not doing is eating some junk food, and you're saying my life is on hold, wow. I'm putting that idea out there, something to think about. Like, wow, what does that mean?
That person obviously know themselves. Is it the same as keep slipping and having a cheat meal or a cheat day or cheat something? Like, are those two ideas according to you the same? Like, you want you say you're keto, but you're having a pizza the weekend because like your kids want pizza and you have 2 slices. Like, is the fact
I don't know what you're comparing now, because in that case the person didn't say that their life is on hold at that point. In that case, that person is saying, well, if there's something there, I'm going to eat it. That's a choice. That's a decision. You're allowed to make decisions even if they're not good decisions. You're allowed to make a quote unquote mistake. Is it a good thing for me to do if I'm so this is it? And it doesn't matter what the thing is. If I have weight to lose and I'm even doing a standard American diet, is eating ice cream helping me? That's the question. So at that point, whatever diet you're doing, and I mean, because standard American diet is still diet, whatever way of life you're doing, if you haven't committed to the things that are going to help you achieve your goal, you're not going to achieve your goal.
And does that mean that that person need to revisit their goals? Maybe their goals are not clear enough. Like, we're back a little bit back to basic. Like you like you said, you can't say you want to lose weight, or even I like the idea of, we often talk about weight, but just being healthier. There's the occasional slip or mistake that you can do. But you get back on track and you try to fix like your mistake. But that person right off the bat says, I can do that.
So they say I can.
Yeah, like
okay.
So
here's another question.
I cannot be in ketosis. I think like if I remember reading that.
Okay, so here's a question for you. If I have a goal, and then in looking at my goal, my plan isn't towards the goal. I want to be healthy. Now, theoretically, if I want to be healthy, what are the things I'm doing? Well, I'm going to bed on time, getting enough sleep, right? I'm drinking enough water, and I'm eating healthy foods, and I'm trying to get exercise. Is there anything else? Did I miss anything?
That's not bad. Yeah.
And I'm being social because mental health, right? So I'm being social. I'm trying to,
especially these times.
If I'm doing all of these things, chances are good that I'm moving towards my goal for myself. But what happens, again, if I decide that, well, sleep is not that important? I'm going to struggle. The truth is, if one of the things is not being attended to properly, I will struggle. Think bigger picture too. It's the whole goal, right? Like, there's multiple layers to a goal. And me trying to eat a healthy ketogenic lifestyle, for example, in my case, or even if I was trying to eat a healthy paleo, healthy whatever, it's also understanding, how am I defining healthy? So often we get this idea of everything in moderate. And it's so frustrating. Is there a moderate amount of poison that I can have? Right? So like, you have to kind of stop and think, like, everything in moderation is an excuse to eat off plan. And I encourage people not to give yourself an excuse to do the wrong thing. If I have a goal of financial freedom by a certain age, but every year, it's moderate to take a vacation, okay? And then how do I define that vacation moderation there? So if I'm going to Fiji on those little islands, that just like, is that the same thing as, going camping? It's not the same, right? The cost is very different. So am I going to make my goal of being financially free by a certain age if I take a vacation every year to the most expensive possible place I could think of? It's the same with physical health. It's the same with mental health, right? If I don't commit to doing the things that help me to be psychologically well, I'm also going to have problems.
Yeah, you're right. Like, there's a commitment issue there. If you didn't like see them, go watch them. We've made a lot of video on addiction. When you say I can't put that down, or like, there's definitely like it's addiction. The question I have, maybe to help our viewers, so like, when did you realize that you were addicted to carbs? Like,
when I tried to stop having them.
Okay. Yeah.
Like that's the thing, right? Like the reason that most people are not aware that they're addicted to carbs is they've never actually tried to stop having them. So, for example, any other substance that we could possibly be addicted to, we know in advance, right? When you go to a bar, you have to be a certain age. Why is that? Because we are fully aware of what happens when you drink. I mean, most addictive substances are not even allowed because we know that they're addictive substances. But we walk through the world unaware, I guess is the right word. Like, we're unaware. Like, I can guarantee you, I did not know until I tried to not have it.
Okay, you tried to stop
that. And then if that wasn't enough, living the withdrawal, when I got pulled back in by nuts, and you're thinking nuts, like in my history of life, my mom loves nuts. They were always available. Did Violet want to eat them? No.
No, they were not sweet enough at the time.
Not sweet enough at the time.
Yeah.
But then when all of a sudden I'm not eating anything carby, put some nuts in front of me and right?
Yeah.
So the truth is that most people are not aware because you never tried to stop.
Okay. So trying to stop first. Second, cravings. If like that's the thing. I spoke to a colleague like a while back, and that colleague was eating, I think, 3-4 bananas per day, but like he couldn't put them down. Like he could not imagine his life without the bananas. But bananas, like I cannot even imagine eating a banana. like okay, yeah, they taste good, but okay, like
First of all, bananas used to be my favorite fruit.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But second of all, we make jokes about it. Like, do you remember what I used to call myself? Oh, I'm a chocoholic. I'm a chocoholic. And jokingly saying that, not realizing how true it really was. So this is, again, part of it. We say things in a frivolous manner, but like the reality is there in front of us. And until we stop and really look at what's blocking me from putting this down, that's when we start to see, right? Like my weight mounting, and yet still Violet was eating chocolate.
Well, oftentimes you even ignoring the fact that, or the signals your body sends you. Your weight is climbing, but yeah, you're getting old, or you try to minimize it with other reasons.
So how many times have you heard it said that it's just normal for women to get heavier as they get older? It's normal. Is it really normal? I weigh less now that I'm older than I did when I was younger. Well, after the last 10 years, let's say. Yeah. So is it normal that I should be on a climbing weight? You know, it's normal after you have a kid that you can't get the weight off. Is that normal? I weigh less now. Yeah. Right? Like there's so many things that we're told that are not true because, well, are they platitudes? Are they just trying to fool ourselves? I don't know. Yeah. But we say things to make ourselves feel like, oh, this is okay. Is it okay?
I feel like another sign or like that maybe can make you realize you're addicted, like moderation is hard in that situation. I know for me, like it was like, okay, like you're having a cookie, a chocolate chip cookie bought at Costco. They're good, they're nice, but it's one. The day after it's two. Then like it was easy like to get 6 or 8. Like at some point, having like a full row, or like even your favorite the packaged cookies, like get a full row. If you see yourself always eating more and more and more of that, like that's another good sign that so when you say you cannot put it down, it's because like it has a good grip on you.
It's so funny to me today how I do not count things the way that I used to count things. Like I used to, I mean, I do weigh and measure stuff, but I'm saying like I used to, like I wouldn't have 1 cookie, I would have 2 or 4. I used to pay so much attention to like these numbers, and honestly I thought it was about even, but actually now I'm starting to realize it was about more. 2 is more than 1. Right? So it's like always adding that extra 1 on there, which it seems so silly. When it's a cookie, it's more important. When it's a chocolate bar, it's more important. So like the bigger the thing gets, the more important it matters that you're not having just the 1, you're having 2, you're having 3, never 3, you're having 2, you're having 4, you're having 6, right? So I think that's the other thing, is that you're talking about that whole idea of moderation. We lose all ability to be moderate because we're chasing. We want more.
Obviously that person can't fully commit. Seems to me like it's coming from different external pressure, social pressure, family. I can't do that because like whenever my family come, I need to make a good meal, but that's the food is there, I'm gonna eat it. What are the options? Like for example, when your family is coming over, like what are you doing with that situation?
I honestly feel like part of the issue there is that it starts before you're ever going to be with other people. Like, what am I doing for me? It's not about other people. When we're making changes in our life and we're trying to improve something for us, then we need to be the focus, right? Like if I'm working out, I'm not working out for you. I'm working out for me. So then if my workout schedule and your schedule to see me don't match, how am I making sure that my workout schedule happens? Sometimes we need to be able to say no. I need to be able to say to you, don't come at that time, come at that time, because Vile's not going to be home. And I feel like it's the same thing with food. If I'm not ready yet to cook a meal that I won't eat, then I don't cook the meal. I cook the meal that I can eat. And guess what? When your family comes to visit, they're not coming to see your food. They're coming to see you. Whatever you put on the plate, they're going to eat. And guess what happens if they don't like what you made? They're going to go home and they're going to eat again. It's not going to... You can vouch for that?
At the beginning. But it's a good example. At the beginning, like when we started dating, I was making all this like, I wanted to impress you with like good foods, and your daughter, and oftentimes I ended up like a little bit frustrated because like you girls don't care that much about food. So the little daughter was like taking 1 or 2 bites, and like you was like, oh yeah, it's good. But I never was getting the, oh wow, it's amazing, and like
oh okay, I see what you're saying.
So that's the thing. In the end, you were coming like to see me, not like
yeah
my cooking talents or
which was
lack of talents.
Which was the entertaining part. No, you have cooking talents. I mean, I'm not gonna say no. Like you make good meals, but that's kind of the point, right? Like I was confused why you would give up so much of your weekend to be in the kitchen when we were there to see you guys. Right. And so like, of course the kids would play and whatever, but like I ended up by myself a lot of the time because the kids are playing and like I'm whatever. So I feel like the thing that's important for us to see there is that when your family comes over, whatever you make is what you make. And guess what? If they don't like what you're making, they will eat when they get home. And as a matter of fact, if they don't like what you're making, they're going to say, don't bother cooking. We're just going to come see you and we'll eat before, we'll eat after or whatever. Right. Like they're going to adjust themselves to be in line with what's happening. Eventually, if you're committed, that's the other thing. Like, are you actually committed? Eventually, you'll get to the part where you can go there, and so you can either cook for people and not have it, or go there and not eat it. Give yourself the time to get to that point.
Yeah. Well, you need also to believe in what you're doing. I'm just like thinking about, for example, a work lunch. Like we were going to pizzeria and I was having a Caesar salad with chicken, and I was the only one having a Caesar salad and chicken, and I was getting questions, why don't you get a pizza? Like, because like I want to eat like healthy and I'm eating that. There's two things like I want to bring in, on the table. You need to believe in what you're doing, and like people's judgment, it's more like the people judgment. Maybe that person is like scared of getting some judgment from family, friends, and
you are going to get judgment. It's normal to be judged, right? We judge people judge us. Like it's normal. I think the thing is understanding that if I put so much value, so much weight on you judging me that I would put myself in harm's way, it's not helping me. So it all comes back to the original idea, which is, are you committed to living a healthier lifestyle or not? And I feel like the hard part about when I see people doing stuff like this is that those 3, 4, 5 days that you're restricting are completely getting like dominoed over and erased, because you're not going to get into ketosis like that, because, well, maybe you'll be in there for like a day, maybe a day, but the benefits that you're trying to get versus the struggle that you're giving yourself to have to be in and out, in and out, in and out. And the question becomes, is it worth it? Now, the other thing that I find that's even more scary, when I allow myself to eat keto, I'm allowing myself to eat fatty things. But then if I'm going to turn around and 2 days of the week, I'm going to eat standard American diet, now I'm doing high fat, high carb. You're not doing low fat anymore, right? You've allowed yourself to no longer be afraid of fat, but you're still not afraid of carb. Like, that's high fat, high carb. That's a recipe for disaster. And I think whenever we're doing anything, learning to drive, starting a family, like whenever you're doing anything major in your life, you should truly understand what are the good parts and what are the negative parts that could come out of this. If I just jump in a car and go driving and I don't learn the rules of the road and whatever, I can have an accident. I could kill somebody. Things could go poorly. Right? So like, we need to allow ourselves to understand that serious things require serious understanding and knowledge and etc. That's why whenever you start a diet, they tell you consult your doctor, make sure you're in good health, make sure you can do this diet. Why? Because it's serious. The food you eat determines everything. If you don't understand that, you could seriously end up hurting yourself. Right? So this is not willy-nilly. This is not a game, right? You don't just add fat back and still be doing high carb. Like, that's a recipe for disaster.
So I'm not sure if that commenter was actually looking forward to those 2 days where like it was rice and bread, or it was just happening and they couldn't control the craving. Some tips we can give, like if you're looking forward, obviously before we go to the tips, like if you're still in that situation after how many months, years, is that like you keep yourself in that situation, you keep the addiction alive if you want to. So
it's like going 5 days without drinking and then drinking on the weekend.
Drinking on the weekend, yeah.
You're not actually allowing yourself to put the addiction down.
Yeah. I'm just thinking like if you're looking forward to those meals in the weekend, obviously like your dopamine is an anticipation hormone, so you're always on high, like looking forward to the weekend, and you're probably very frustrated during the 5 days. But
maybe not, because when we're anticipating something, like we feel like we're doing good when we're not doing right, because I'm waiting for it, right? Okay. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna get to, so like this period of time, but the thing is that you're undoing.
Yeah.
Like you're doing all this energy, and then
we're not super fond of those replacement food that we can do on keto, for example, like keto bread and keto pizza crust, and
but for some people,
yes, like that's what I was like. That's where I was going. Like, could it be a way to lower down maybe the addictive appeal?
What do you call it? A transitional,
because at the beginning when we started keto, we used to do that. We used to do like the keto bread for our burgers, and we used to cook some. Like we're making a little bit more keto dessert, keto cookies, but like all that vanished like in the process. It was way too complicated for the benefits it was giving us. So maybe that's an interesting option, like as a transition to being fully committed to keto.
It's hard, right? Because on the one hand, if the person's looking forward to it, then those keto replacements are not going to work because they don't taste the same. So if you're not looking forward to it and it's just happening because it's in front of you, they might help. You know, the other option is arrive after supper. The other option is, you know, like bring your own meal with you. There are other options as well. I think what's important is backing up and really asking yourself, am I committed to this or not? Because the thing that scares me the most is leaving that window open for high fat while you are still doing high carb. That's a dangerous combination. And I don't think that people think about it. But it's so important for us to understand that when you do high fat, high carb, that's dangerous. Talk to your doctor. They're going to tell you high fat, high carb is a recipe for disaster. Like, don't take my word for it. This is something that you should be looking into before you try any diet. You should be looking into like, what am I doing? Do good research and understand what you're putting yourself in line for. You don't go drive in a car without taking some lessons. So you know, you really have to go and figure out like, what is this going to mean for me if I do this? If I'm doing 5 days of something and then doing 2 days where I'm out of control. The other question mark when you talk about reading labels, am I even reading labels? Am I tracking what I'm eating? Am I paying close attention? Am I trying to be on the healthier side of things? And this is where this kind of stuff scares me, because we have no way of knowing if this person is even doing keto correctly. Because if you were doing keto correctly and were doing it for any length of time, that you're still chasing carbs at this. So there's like these big question marks for me. Like, did you even make a week without, right? So it takes about 2 weeks and then your cravings fall away for most people. Keto friendly doctors, they are out there. I would definitely say reach out. If you're in a similar situation as what we're describing here, reach out, talk to a keto friendly doctor, get some guidance. Right? Because at the end of the day, your specific situation needs to be addressed.
And for sure, the first few months are going to be harder. Like, let's not like
for me, it was weeks. But again, I jumped in. You didn't jump in.
No, but I mean, you need to track. You need to track your food. You need to have a clear idea of a serving size. Okay, it's that instead of that. What I used to put before.
But
so it's a bit more work at the beginning for sure. But
But even with that, I would say that I don't necessarily want to call that harder. These are things we should be doing anyway. I'm sorry, but on a standard American diet, when you buy packaged foods, there are serving sizes on there that people should be checking. You should be tracking. You should be knowing what you're eating. We don't do it. Does it mean that? So keto isn't harder. It's just that we have decided to be very vocal about the fact that you should be tracking. Does it mean that if you decide tomorrow I'm not doing eating keto anymore that you shouldn't be tracking? No, you should still be tracking. Yeah. That's why there are serving sizes on the foods we buy. And we ignore them. Yeah. And then we are ballooning up and we don't know why. No, but seriously,
no, you're right.
Like this is ridiculous. Right. We make it sound like living this lifestyle is so difficult because, oh my goodness, you have to track, and oh my goodness, you have to do this. And I'm sorry. This is something that we should be doing regardless of what type of meal plan you are on. And I'll tell you something. When you have a baby, the doctor asks you, how many ounces did the baby drink? Every time you go in, they want to know. They're tracking. They're tracking. Why do we think that because we've gotten taller that we don't need to track? They want to know how much solids the baby's getting in. They want to know how many poops the baby's having. They're tracking everything. Why do we think, well, because we're adults now, that it doesn't matter what we eat? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It so matters.
If you have teens, Wellness Warrior, just do an experiment. I'm in a situation where one of my teens, we kind of need to bring the sugar down a bit, and I was smiling when you were saying that because it happened to me just like last week where we just measured his favorite breakfast cereal, we thought was healthy, and in the end was 3 servings, like the 28, 30 grams or 40 grams of his favorite cereal, giving him like 20 grams of carbs.
And he's having 3.
He was having 3. We were just not even filling the bowl. Like it was a regular bowl like a kid would eat, but this was still 3 servings. So just in the breakfast, he was having 65 grams of carbs just with the bowl, but they had the milk. And sometimes they probably most. I know I used to have a fruit with that, like on top of the bowl of cereal when I was eating cereal. So like end up with a breakfast with 125 grams of carbs, which is on a low carb or even on a normal diet should be your daily allowance. That makes no sense. So we need to get back on tracking once in a while too.
This is part of the reason, but not again once in a while. We should be tracking. We should be tracking. Period. This is why I get so frustrated when people say, "Oh, it's hard because you have to track." It's not. We should be tracking anyways. It's just what we're supposed to do. That's why the serving sizes are there. And you know what? Actually, if you would take a moment and just look at the serving sizes that are on whatever it is that you're eating, you'd be surprised how most of us are double, triple eating what the serving is, right? And we don't realize. You go and you buy a cookie at the dépanneur corner store, and that cookie, which we think is a snack, no, it's like a quarter of that cookie. That's a serving, and we don't know. So this is the other piece of the puzzle. Like I get frustrated because it's as if tracking is such a big deal. It's but honestly, that's why the nutrition labels have serving sizes. We are all supposed to be tracking.
So Wellness Warrior, let us know in the comment if you're in that group that can seem to be committing. What do you think with the information we gave you today? What do you think is the reason? Like
that you're not committing?
That you're not committing? Yeah. Okay. Maybe you can put down your favorite dessert. Maybe you can I'm curious. Let us know in the comment.
I'm also curious to know, like, for the people who did commit, what was the turning point? Like, what helped you to say, that's it, I'm committed, and walk forward doing a healthier way of living? Because I feel like those kind of comments can help the people who are struggling. Because when we read through them, it's going to be very helpful.
Yep.
So there are some videos on the screen right there that are going to help you to improve your health. Wellness Warriors, I'm always so happy that you guys come back. And everybody who's new, welcome.
And subscribe. And share the video. And leave a like.
Might as well ring that bell while you're at it.
Oh yeah, I forgot the bell.
I want to thank you for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet, Pat Chat Edition.
Talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week.